Nebraska is sitting inside the top 10, and I'm sure you've noticed that by now. They're a legitimate 2 seed in the NCAA Tournament. But if you're like most college basketball fans, you've registered the ranking, but you haven't wondered why that is. Because unless you've been watching a lot of their games closely, the answer isn't obvious. There's not a viral star. There's no nightly highlight machine dominating the discourse, but there's a very clear reason why this team works, and his name is Pryce Sandfort. So Pryce Sandfort committed to Nebraska in April of 2025, and he came from Iowa. And for me, here's where the context truly starts to matter a little bit more. At Iowa, he was a role player. He started just 2 games. He was somebody that I'm sure Nebraska viewed as having good underlying indicators. Was a good shooter, someone that would probably be productive, but I'm not sure that his resume pointed to a breakout season like the one he's currently having. Again, the production didn't point to it. His usage at Iowa certainly didn't point to it. When Nebraska brought him in, I'm sure their idea was pretty simple. We're going to have a guy who's going to be a very useful piece, a real shooter, someone that can come in and help space the floor. And at the end of the day, they were right, but I'm just not sure they were right in the way that anyone expected them to be. The first thing that jumps out to you when you watch Pryce play is how natural the offense just looks when he's shooting the basketball. There's no forced possessions. He's not hijacking sets. He's catching the ball in a rhythm, and he just lets it fly. And the volume is the most outrageous part. So we're talking about 200 3-point attempts already this season, right around 40% from 3. And there's plenty of basketball left to play. On unguarded looks, the efficiency climbs even higher, up into the mid-40s. And it's not just where he shoots, it's how far out he's comfortable. His range is stretches the defense, and they can't even realize they're being stretched when it happens. It's really wild to watch. And then the jump is the key. Last year at Iowa, he took around 4 threes a game. Now he's pushing it closer to 9 a game, and the efficiency hasn't sacrificed at all. And for me, that's not just shooting. That's shooting that scales phenomenally, and it's why he's such an exciting piece to watch in this Nebraska offense, and why he's the key that turns the ignition over. But where Pryce Sandfort really separates himself from most of the other shooters at this level is his ability to shoot the ball off the dribble. Now, a lot of college shooters need to play to work. They need the screen. They need the help defender to commit or a paint touch. Nebraska, they use Pryce in a structure. They do give him movement. They do give him handoffs. But what makes him different is that when he catches the ball, he can make that structure break in his favor, and that's really beneficial. So you think about it. When a screen gets blown up or when a defender stays attached to him, he's able to adjust. He's still 1 or 2 dribbles away from creating space and getting his shot up, and the efficiency doesn't drop. He shoots a 50% clip this year off the dribble. That's amazing. Now, attacking the rim is the final layer for me, and it's the one that closes every defensive escape hatch for the opposing team. When they start selling out to try to take his shot away, Sandfort doesn't panic. He attacks. Now, he's comfortable putting the ball on the floor, getting all the way to the rim. He plays through contact. He's able to go through help defenders, through bodies. He doesn't rely on defenses, leaving him wide open. The numbers back this up. So at the rim, he's finishing around 70+% from a true shooting percentage, and it places him in the top tier nationally, I think 92nd percentile. He's a lot of shooters. They just don't live here. They rely on the space and they rely on clean looks. And for Pryce Sandfort, that's not really his game. He doesn't rely on that. If you overplay the shot, he's going to make you pay. And once he shows you that, there's not really a clear answer left for how you guard him. So it puts defenders in just an incredibly complex position of how they want to try to play this guy and take things away. So for this reason, I think his ceiling is really unlimited this year. Now, look, every March, there's a player who just becomes obvious to everyone all at once. And it's not because they came out of nowhere, literally. It's more because the stage finally got big enough for the population at large to notice. And to me, I think about it in a couple of ways. We've seen it before. Think back a couple of years to Jack Golke at Oakland. You can think back to moments like Linsanity when a stretch of games just captures everyone's attention all at one time. But the difference here is just purely the context of what Nebraska is doing. And Nebraska is not a surprise team. This is a group who's expected to win games in March. And Pryce Sandfort is not a side story. He's really central to what they're doing and why they're so dangerous. Simply put, he's electric with the ball. He is an elite shot maker, and his game is just built for the moments, when possessions start to tighten up and everyone's watching. And March Madness is inherently a time for big shots to be made, and there are not many big shot makers like Pryce Sandfort. So it feels like a player that's destined for an ascendant moment in March. It's the kind of run that's going to turn into a mixtape one day that forces people to rewind and rewatch the games just because his shot making doesn't really feel natural at first. So, a warning for all of you guys, if you want to be ahead of it, not catching up, but ready for the run that I think he's going to have, Pryce Sandfort is the name that you're going to want to know. Because once this tournament starts in March, I think the rest of the country is going to be kind of meeting him in a hurry. And so for all you guys out there, I appreciate you watching the video. I really think highly of this Nebraska team and of Pryce. I'm going to be doing more of these videos talking about storylines that I see coming in March. So subscribe to the channel if you want to hear those. And I hope to see you guys on the next one.